Hi, welcome back to Pack Medical Group by NovaCare Health, and I wanted to make sure that we talk about a really great subject, thriving at 65. Um, Tell us about living out the golden years
Yeah.
and how exciting that actually is.
Yeah. So, it's really important that people talk. I want to work with patients on how to really maximize their golden years and make it the best part of their life, right? Think about it. You work your butt off your whole life, making sure that there's food on the table for your children. They get, everyone's taken care of, everyone at work is taken care of, and you finally put that notice in and saying, I'm finally about to retire.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because everyone focuses on the financial aspect of retiring, right? Make sure that they have the proper, reserve so that, everyone's fear is that I'm going to outlive my money.
Right.
And that, don't get me wrong, that's really important. I think you need to work with a certified financial planner to make sure that you're on cue. And the data is pretty consistent and clear, and you'll be, if you work the numbers, you'll know financially what makes sense. But the part that I think that's really undervalued and people don't talk about is I have patients that thrive. When they retire, they thrive.
Mhm.
When I see them, their energy levels so high, they can't wait, and they're so excited about the next day.
Mhm.
And then I have patients that really, really struggle, right? They come in kind of slumped and almost set back
Mhm.
and thinking about second guessing, maybe I shouldn't have retired.
Mhm.
And there's quite a bit of difference in dynamics and why that happens. And I think for me, we just don't do a good enough part in educating people about the emotional and the social aspects of what happens with your retirement.
Mhm.
And so I do spend a lot of time with my patients about that. I learned a lot from my patients on what works and what doesn't work. And so the first aspect that's important is that your social network changes. People don't realize that a lot of your identity when you work has a lot to do with your work and the social networking with your work.
With your team members.
With your team
Yes.
members. You
Yeah.
might do happy hour, you might do Super Bowl polls.
Mhm.
There's so many social events that happen that's tied to work.
And now you're not a part of that
Right.
because you're not working anymore.
Exactly.
And they're doing it without you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that networking is different.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of get used to that. What typically happens is, you turn in your retirement and the first Monday they're excited because they don't have to wake up to an alarm
Yeah.
clock, and they can sleep in a little bit later.
They get to do what they want,
Right.
when they want.
Yeah, and spend more time taking an extra sip of coffee
Yeah.
and enjoying the sunrise and stuff. But that, only, and then they go on vacations and they go visit their kids and everything else. And typically, what I notice is for time frames about 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
But then after that, what happens is that the Mondays they can't tell the Mondays between Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, or Fridays. It all just kind of blends.
Mhm.
And then one day they'll wake and they lay in bed and like, why do I need to get up? Right? What's my purpose?
Mhm.
And that's the number one thing that's important is that when I see people in my practice, patients that thrive after 65 in the golden years versus people that struggle is purpose. And it's very consistent. People who are, time without purpose is an empty vacuum.
Mhm.
That's what it comes down to. That's the reality. And so the patients that I see that are thriving and they can't wait is they're always learning and growing. So I'll give you an example. This really cute couple in their 65. So they always wanted to travel,
Mhm.
and they travel, but they always the wife always wanted to be able to speak a different language.
Oh.
Yeah, right? And so the husband always wanted to learn how to play the guitar.
Okay.
Okay, and so that's what they did. So she started going to Spanish classes. As she actually enrolled,
Mhm.
she got into a social network, Facebook network, to do Spanish, and then they prepped and everything. And so she was so excited when they went to Spain, because then she could practice
talk.
it and
Yeah,
stuff.
she
Yeah,
can
and
do
so
that.
that's what it's about. It's about growth and purpose and seeing progress. Though that's the commonality of patients that really thrive. Patients that don't do well is that they don't really have a purpose. They don't have specific growth path, and learning about anything. You can get into a pitfall really easily if you think about it. If you retire, all the friends that you kind of accumulate is basically revolved around two things: food and alcohol. Right? Think about that, right? After you retire, you're 65, 66, 70, and you get to a gathering. Almost every gathering, it's going to have what? Food and alcohol. And so those are your two commonalities. And that's the problem. So then you start putting on weight, you start drinking more, and then you start sleeping in later, you don't exercise, so you start falling into this bad pattern of behavior. And those are the people that struggle. So those are the things that I really want people to understand, is that there's more to just the financial aspect of retiring. And I work with my patients about, I really want you to make the golden years the best 20, 30 years of your life.
Well, they should be.
It should be.
You've been working all your life to get to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You've raised your family. You've, had your career. You finally gotten to this point where you should just enjoy it and thrive at 65 and be able to enjoy yourselves. And I think it's important that what you were saying, as far as it's more of you looking forward to doing something.
Right.
You always have something in your head of something new, maybe something different, something that you've never done before, and it maybe even takes you out of your comfort zone.
Right.
But hey, guess what? You can do it now. So you have something to actually look forward to instead of being stagnant.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I love that term, comfort zone, because if you're always within your comfort zone, you're not growing. Right? And so that's the aspect is, I heard this term, and it's absolutely true. The day that you stop growing or learning is the day you actually really die. Not physically, but, and so that's really important what you said, is that I really talk to my patients about challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. It's something that you always thought about, dreamed about. This is the time to do it. Now you have the time and the monetary resources to do it. So do it and grow.
Oh, my parents, when they ended up finally retiring, the family and the kids were like, where's mom and dad? Like, they're never around.
Right.
Oh, they were off traveling and doing their thing, and that's how I want to be.
Exactly.
They explored everything,
Yep.
and they are still doing that. They're 84 years old.
Right.
And they're still driving and traveling and doing all those fun things, and I'm like, we never know where they're going to be next.
Yeah.
But
That's what you want.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I love and I take from them, and it's so important to do that instead of just staying in your home and not doing anything at all. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when age is really a number. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't have more energy in your golden years than previous. And it's just about the mindset. You want to grow, you want to learn, you want to see your skill set grow. And so those are the people that really thrive in their golden years, and they embrace it. And so the other part that's important is that your socialization, your social network changes. I'll give you an example. So there was this one lady, I'll call her Mrs. D, and she was really taken back. She was always used to her perception was that her social circle and her being wanted or needed was based on the number of text messages that she got. And so we kind of went through that and said, I told her to kind of dive into where her text messages were, and significant number of her text messages were work related, right? And so when you remove that, obviously the number of text messages, calls, or the interactions decrease. So we had to kind of peel away the layers and talk about that. So let's kind of go through those interactions that you have with your coworkers. Out of all your coworkers that you have relationships with, how much were there more superficial relationships where almost all your conversation are related to like movies, Netflix, or sporting events, or about fantasy football? Versus, of course, you can develop a very strong, deep relationship with your coworkers,
Of course.
right? And how many of those are real, deep,
Beneficial.
beneficial, deep, friendships? And so what ends up happening is that your social network shrinks, but the quality of your interactions with the smaller social network enriches. You're having much deeper conversations about.
It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, that's important.
That is important. So you're gonna need to focus more on the quality of the relationship rather than the quantity, you know? And once you adopt that and you embrace it, that's when you're fine. You know, you don't define, you know, you shouldn't worry about how many text messages you get from different people. That doesn't really correlate to, you know, the quality of your socialization.
Of someone who truly cares about you, who checks on you, who loves you, who cares for you, all of that.
Right.
Versus, you know, just somebody that you've just had interactions with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a deep, you know, a deep understanding of each other. And so those are some of the, you know, transactions that changes as you retire that you have to kind of embrace that sometimes people just aren't ready for.
Yeah.
And then they have this void and you're like, okay, what's wrong? And there's nothing wrong. It's just that it's changed and life is changing and you should embrace change.
Yeah.
And you know, that's part of the interaction that I really enjoy talking and kind of problem solving with my patients and actually asking myself, why does it make you feel empty that you're not getting these superficial text messages?
I love that though. It's not just a primary care visit with you. You literally get into depth with your patients and you dig and dive, and it's emotional too. And I love that.
And it's all about, you know, there's so many different aspects, right? When you retire and different things. And, you know, you have to kind of know your patients and approach, just like a coach. A really good coach knows that there's some that you have to be kind of hard on and push. There's some that needs nurturing and words of affirmation. And so, you know, that takes experience. And I feel like over these 30 years, I kind of get to know my patients really well and what works with them and what doesn't work for them. You know, an interesting conversation I had with one of my patients, like, I have all this time and, you know, maybe I'll think about doing this next year. And so I said, you know what? He actually was a mathematics teacher. He was a teacher of mathematics. I said, let me ask you this. So at the time we were having this discussion, he was 67, right? And I said, let me ask you a question. So how long do you think you're gonna live? He goes, well, I don't know. You know, only God knows that. I said, yeah, I agree, only God knows that. But, you know, statistically, you're a mathematician. So you take the national average of a male, you're a non-smoker, you can plug it into one of those life apps and they'll tell you your life expectation. I said, and so let's just say it's 20 years. So you think it's fair that you're 67 and if you pass away at 87, right? You think that's a pretty good life? Oh yeah, I'll take that all day long. So I said, okay, let's do that in math. So how many days a year is there? It's like 365 days a year. So that in 10 years, that's 3,650 days. Is that right? I said, yeah. So you expect to live 20 years, so you multiply that. So what is that? 7,300 days.
You're better at math than I am.
Right? So I said, so you have 7,300 days. So tomorrow you're going to have 7,349 days. Does that seem like a lot? Yeah. He's thinking about it. He's like, no, not
when you
that.
Think of it in days.
Yeah, in days. Yeah, it's
and
like
not years.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah. So
get
every single day.
Live it now.
Exactly.
That's the key takeaway to this. Is get out there and live
do
it
it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Do it today.
Yes.
Exactly. And live every single day, like it's your last. You know, you're that term, but it's absolutely true.
Absolutely.
And so when you put in that perspective that you cross off these number of days, you're like, So now it starts to sink in and say, you know what, I got to do
something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's go.
Let's get going.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. And we're going to definitely have more conversations coming up on different subjects. So please
stay tuned.
Stay tuned and keep us going with the podcast and everything. And let us know if you have any subjects or anything that you would like for us to discuss for you.
Yeah.